Hey guys, Trev here from Spinewise. I'm so excited today to be joined by an incredible guy, a good friend of mine, Pat Fitzpatrick. Pat is an amazing guy. He is an Australian cycling coach. He is a skills coach in both mountain bike and road bike. He's the managing director and co-founder of Ride International, a tour company that runs local Australian grand tours both here and overseas. An absolutely amazing guy. He's kindly agreed to share a whole lot of time with us today and answer questions in relation to what you can do to get yourself cycling. The interesting thing as well, Pat's also part of the council solving committee in regards to trying to improve safety for road cyclists that enjoy cycling recreationally every day and commuting as well. Guys, this is 30 minutes you don't want to miss. It's an amazing chat we had. Whether you're just starting out in cycling or whether you're well into it and you're looking for ways to improve your skills just a little bit more, this is going to be an amazing half hour that you want to absolutely sit down and watch in its full detail. I'm going to post up some links with this video as well, so you can get in contact with Pat if you want to. Otherwise, please feel free to message me. I'm happy to have a chat to you about anything, or chat with with Pat as well, and my team will help get you in contact with him if you need to as well. Anyway, guys, stay tuned for this. You're gonna love this. This is 30 minutes you're absolutely gonna love. So, wanted to have a chat today, just do a little bit of chat about cycling in general, part of our series that we're doing here. Get some tips, ideas. I know you've had some background in, quite a big background in cycling. You run your own tour company as well. But we just start off with, for those who are just starting off with cycling, what are some tips that you'd have for people who are just starting off? Like just getting out and cycling, they just want to maybe get out there and start doing something. Where would we start?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question to lead off with, and I think that the main thing that I encourage people to do is frequency. So when it comes to biking, if people want to improve, the first thing I always suggest to them is increase the frequency. Don't increase the duration and don't increase the intensity. So frequency is the key, just because it builds in good patterns, and by cycling more often, well then your whole system fires up, and all of the great benefits mentally and physically, they start to come on from that. And then later on, sure, like the intensity and those sort of things, but absolutely frequency is the key to start with.
We see it all the time that people get on their bikes and they just get this bike and they just want to go out and just smash out and do 100 Ks today, and then all of a sudden they start wondering why they get injured and things like this down the track.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's a classic thing too. They increase the goals by the number of miles or kilometres. They increase those goals, and it's great to have goals. To make those bigger goals, and put them out there as their goal if it's a sportive or a Grand Fondo or a race or whatever the case might be, or even just a bigger ride. It could be 25 kilometres or 50 or 100, whatever, you pick the number. Yeah. But it's great to have them, but that shouldn't be the goal every time they go out. And it's about doing it in small bursts, so that not only are you just increasing the frequency, they're also increasing the time that they're on the bike, because that's what creates good patterns for them on the bike. So skills-wise, yeah.
Beautiful. And how important do you think the social aspect of it is, like getting out with people as opposed to getting out on your own?
Yeah, massive. And we really encourage people to seek that out in wherever they are. And I think the world now is really easy to connect with other people who are interested, whether it's through a cycling club or an online group, or just reaching out to people through social media or however it works. If obviously a bit of security involved in that as well, but reaching out, because the social side of it is a real key, and quite often it's underestimated. But once people get into cycling, then they really understand that and appreciate that social aspect to it, and sitting down with people and having a coffee afterwards and solving the world's problems is it's a really important thing.
Start arguing about this position or this position is faster type thing.
That's right. Always leave politics aside, of course.
Just get out and ride.
Yeah. Well, and here for Australia too, it's how you take your coffee. That's the important thing. after the ride. In other countries, it's different beverages at the end of a ride, just depending on where you're from. But yeah, it is. It's a really important thing, and that's where we connect with people, and that's where, you know, we share stories and, you know, what we do in our work life, and that. But it gets us out of the house and into different worlds and environments, and it's great. We love it, right? Even ourselves. That's
absolutely nothing more invigorating than being out on a Saturday morning and just the cars around and just. Well, I can't say wind in the hair anymore, can I?
And no,
that type of feeling. Them were the days back then, but anyway, we live as we live these days.
Yeah, it's aero gains now.
Aero gains, that's what we're looking for, isn't it? Absolutely, aero gains. All right, so with the cyclist study, and one of the other questions that I often get asked, I don't know if you do as well, but one of the things that I get often asked is when they first start cycling, should they just get a normal bike and just go out for a ride, or should they be getting shoes that clip in, these type of things? Like, what's potentially the right place to start? There's always a balance in between those two things. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it is, and cycling means different things to different people. Absolutely, depending on where they're at and the sort of age group that they're in as well. And quite a lot of people, the technology stuff is a huge part to them, you know, so they're all, you know, they're technology nerds and kit nerds, and, you know, or some it's about the fashion side, whatever. Different aspects of it, you know, really attract people in kind of different ways, and so there's no correct path into it, and it's really it's whatever strikes a chord with the individual. And yes, you know, obviously want to be heading towards those things, but to start with, it you know, it really doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to go out and get all the right kit. As long as you've got a bike, it's safe, and you've got a helmet, like, that's where the enjoyment comes from. And I think most people will recognise that, you know, to their core. It's like, yeah, sure, it's nice to have all the fancy kit that goes along with it once you've been, you know, doing it a little while, but when it comes down to it, you can be absolute essentials, because it still creates that same beautiful feeling of being out on your bike and just, you know, riding around and enjoying the fresh air, and you know, that's the nice part of it. So the other stuff, absolutely, once you get into it more, sure, there's the efficiencies and the benefits of, you know, doing those things and nicer stuff, but it's absolutely not essential, no. So it's like, if someone's got a shopping bike, I live in, you know, hipster Brunswick, it doesn't matter. It's like, you know, I love just seeing people riding bikes. It could be a shopping bike with a basket, and, you know, we have an e-bike as well for the kids and the shopping, and, you know, that's the beautiful thing with biking. It can be used for transport, recreation, fun, shopping, and then sure, if, you know, going towards more recreational style stuff or adventure riding, it's like, you know, there's so many different aspects to it. Or like we're just watching on TV, the BMX as well, you know, it's like for the kids and then adults that are coming through, and there's so many different forms of cycling and competition and stuff to get into.
I know a lot of people are getting a little bit afraid in this day and age of riding on the road, but there are other options like that, isn't there? Like, I know my kids have been racing BMX now for a good couple of years, 2-3 years now, and just love it, and they've now fallen in love with cycling just because they feel safe all the time. They're on the BMX tracks, it's all good, and now they've got their bike skills up, and their skills are from all that practice. Now they feel safe riding on the road with us, and they're learning their road rules at a very young age as well, which has been really helpful.
You're right, it's a really good point. It creates a nice, especially for kids, it's a nice transition, because they're learning in that safe environment, and then so the jump into other forms of cycling that we see a lot of adults then come towards, and, you know, later in their life to take up cycling, the barriers to those kids aren't there, because they're already comfortable, their skills, their techniques there, they're relaxed on the bike, and they can process things and move around on the bike, and they're also, you know, they become savvier to their surroundings and awareness from, you know, being able to have that space, I think, when they're younger too, but also in a competitive environment in racing, they're very aware of, you know, where the competitors are coming from and those things, so they're building that peripheral vision, which we see when people go into, you know, get into a motorcycle license or driving, they start doing defensive courses to
programs,
improve that style of stuff, whereas kids who come through from a very young age, they're learning that sort of defensive riding, so that when they come across to the road, it could be the road, then they already have that sense of awareness.
Skill sets there.
Yeah, but hence why, as you're sort of alluding to, hence why we're seeing a lot of people who are coming through and starting to go straight into gravel riding and things like that, is because they can go off-road essentially, and they don't have, to be too concerned about the vehicles around them. It creates that safer space, or people who are just cycling on bikeways or bike paths, and they no longer have to be that concerned about getting hit by cars. But the defensive style of cycling, it's something I think that we'll see a lot more of from here on. And part of what we do is of coaching people to improve their skills, as quite often as adults, or they could be Olympians as well. Some of the people we've just been watching on TV that we coach as well for technique and skills and racecraft. A lot of that is also about improving their awareness to these things as well.
I know you've been quite involved with councils and stuff like this, building a lot of this, and there is a big movement to try and make cycling more and more safe in Victoria, isn't there? Absolutely.
Right across Australia, it's like the number one feedback that councils and cycling bodies get from adults is what are the barriers to cycling for people, and the number one thing is that they're concerned about their safety in traffic. So hence we're seeing that real shift towards separated cycling lanes, so that people have, even if it's a small barrier, or it could be a painted line on the road too, it also just forms that, I guess, mental separation for cars and bikes, and just makes them feel a little bit safer on the road.
So despite what we are hearing, it is getting safer and safer to be out there, isn't it? Like I certainly, as a cyclist, feel in the last 18 months or 2 years, things definitely have kind of shifted a little bit from where we were maybe 3 or 4 years ago. What are your thoughts from the other side?
Yeah, I think so. Because we've seen a big uptake in the quantity and the number of cyclists out there, without a really good shift as far as physical things on the roads, or improvements towards cycling infrastructure. But then we've also seen, obviously, then coming through with the laws about safe overtaking distances, and I think just the combination of those two has really improved, and will continue to improve those things. So we'll start to see not only inner metro areas, but you're starting to see bigger projects starting to happen in outside metro areas, and all of the bikeways and paths starting to connect up.
Which is awesome, All right, so we touched on skill sets a little bit earlier, and having skills to do all those kind of things. I know you're one of the most amazing coaches that I know of in that area. Are there some, sorry, I've got to plug it in, you are amazing. I know what you've done. So when we start looking at this, we're starting cycling out, are there some basic skill sets that people should probably develop when they first start getting riding, when they first get out there? Some things that they should potentially look at or do, or things like that?
Yeah, really good question. And
I know it's a complicated answer because everyone's different.
You can hear me thinking about that.
Well, this person needs this and that person needs that, and
it is, and it's so specific, because what one person does really well, some person will find really difficult, and then vice versa. The skills swap over quite a bit, and it depends really on the age of the person, and then what other things that they've done as well. If they've done any other sporting activities that require hand-eye coordination and balance, and as I always say too, anyone who's done skiing, generally great skiers make good bike riders, but not vice versa. So there's those balance and technique things, but as far as things that people can practice, as we said earlier on, it's about the frequency. And so one of the main things that people can do is just by increasing the frequency, as we said, they start to get more familiar with the touch points on their bike, and just their balance, and just all the fine motor skills that go along with that. And not in big doses, as we were saying as well, and I often, especially during lockdown periods, as we've had recently, everyone working from home, I've really encouraged people to say, go out for 5 minutes. It's like take your break from your computer, jump on your bike in your work clothes, put a helmet on, ride around out the front for 5 minutes, because that 5 minutes of rolling around out the front just improves balance and just those touch points. And it's not about going fast or hard or doing gnarly things. It's just about quite often getting them just to start practicing riding smaller circles in a really easy gear on their bike. And you think it's such a simple thing. You go, well, how hard's that? It's actually really quite tricky for a lot of people, because most of us can turn one direction really well and really easy, and then the side where our dominant leg, and for me I'm tapping my right leg because it's my right leg is dominant, so it's turning for me in a right hand circle direction. And quite often people, if they're dominant left leg, well then they'll struggle to turn around their dominant leg. And so they'll feel that imbalance in their turning. But it's just a really good indication if it's happening in small circles, just pedaling really softly around, it's happening in their riding all the time. So once they add speed, or they could be descending down a mountain or doing anything, it's like, whoa, I can't turn right, or oh, I can't turn left. And generally it's, you know, their dominant leg getting in the way. So a really quick way to get around that is just to make sure that they're swinging their knee either away from the top tube of the bike, the frame, or into the corner, whatever works well for them, and just to balance that up. And it's
a little bit of support, a little bit more strength in going around those corners.
Yeah, well, rather than strength, I quite often remove anything to think with tension, and it's more about relaxing. So it's getting them to relax, because as soon as you relax and take a knee swing into a corner, and you quite often see the motorbike riders on TV, it's really obvious when they're doing it. They started with their knees and then now they drop the whole leg out. But a bike's similar, you still got your feet on the pedals, but you're just swinging that knee. But once you swing the knee, then your hips turn, then your torso turns, and everything turns into
looking in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly, that's right. And then the eyes and the head all go around there. But it's just getting this, essentially, it's like a rudder. You turn your knee and then the hips, it's connected, and everything goes in the direction you want. So that there is no opposing forces pushing your bike in the opposite direction.
It's funny that I see it all the time with the kids. Like when I'm at the BMX track and I look at them, these kids, there are just some kids that are just naturally gifted with the way they look, and other kids who just don't. Like I've seen it with my two kids, where one of them, for whatever reason, whenever he gets into trouble, will always look where he wants to go, and the other one always looks where he doesn't want to go, and almost always ends up where he doesn't want to go as a result. And it's really interesting how just where you're looking and you tend to want to travel in that same direction. Just changing your focus can sometimes make such a big difference in those type of things.
And it's a really, really key point that you hit on there. And a lot of people think you actually get better at riding a bike. No, you just get better at reducing the lag between looking where you don't want to go and then looking where you do want to go. And it seems like it's another one of those things you think, well, that's pretty obvious. But in the moment, in the heat of when things are happening, it's a really key thing to acknowledge. Yeah, sure, that's where I don't want to go, but that's actually where I do want to go, and it's shortening that lag. And quite often, really experienced bike riders will just say, yeah, just look where you want to go. It doesn't work like that. Your brain has the inbuilt safety factor to keep us alive. It's like, yes, but did you see that first? And as soon as you acknowledge it, then you can look where you want to go. But while you're trying to avoid that process of acknowledging first, if you're trying to avoid it, it doesn't work. It's like you really need to acknowledge and then
move on.
And then look where you want to go and move on. Because if you don't, it's just like, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? And you keep coming back to it. And so then obviously you get object fixation, and then last minute.
And you go on with everything else.
It's all over. It's breaking. It's
We've all heard the stories. We've all got scars on us from looking the wrong way.
Someone too, I can be riding behind them, and I know what they're looking at 100% of the time, and I'm sitting behind them, and I can tell them what they're looking at constantly.
Just by their body postures.
And where their bike's going.
So
I say, great, I can see what you're looking at. You're going perfect, right direction. You're looking at the right things. Maybe look to this a little bit more, do that a little bit more. It's looking good. Or I say, okay, this needs a lot of work. You're looking here, or you just keep taking constant looks, and then essentially your trajectory starts, your arcs start to look like a snake rather than a big arc. And that's a really a big issue later on, because it starts to affect traction levels. So while you're taking lots on you might just think, oh, it's a harmless little look out the corner to make sure we're okay. No, when you see the consequences of what's happening to the bike and their body position, it's huge. It just gets
So what do you think the biggest influences are when we start talking about traction levels, cornering for those who are a bit more advanced and experienced? When we start looking at those type of things, what do you think the biggest influences are with traction and maintaining good contact?
As we've just been saying, number one, it's about what we're looking at and what we're visualizing. So always, looking forward. And I quite often say it's like looking into the future, because you are predicting your future by looking where you want to go. It's either positive or negative. You get to choose. So hopefully you're choosing the positive. And then it's once you are looking forward like that, you can also relax more. Your brain's relaxed. You can see further ahead. So the little processor that's sitting in here's got more time to process all of that information. So your brain's happy, and then physically you relax as well. So, and then it's about getting your center of gravity low. So no matter what bike you're on, when it comes to cornering, it could be a road bike, an off-road bike, gravel bike, mountain bike, you name it, BMX bike, it's all the same. It's about
application.
Center of gravity low, and then your head and chest down closer, roughly to the handlebars and the head stem. So that center of gravity is low, you're getting more weight into the front of the bike to create more traction in the front, which allows the bike to counter steer and steer much better too.
Beautiful, awesome. All right, so I know we both got kids, and we both done our best to try and get them involved in cycling. So when we start talking about kids, what are some of the things that you suggest? How do people get kids involved?
It's a really good point, and we've been through it, so we understand it as well. And I think we probably both agree, and we've spoken about it before. We see a lot of parents fall into the trap still because of how we grew up as kids, that they'll put their kid on a bike with training wheels, and it's, as we both know, it seems like the obvious thing to do, because a kid will come from a balance bike or a scooter, and then they get to a bike, a balance bike with no pedals, and they're going great, and it's like, oh, okay, well the next step is kid goes on a bike with training wheels so that they can get the whole pedaling thing, and that's where it falls over. And having just been through it, ourselves recently too, it's like it just takes a little bit longer for them to get used to a balance bike and get really super comfortable with it, and almost stay on a balance bike, let's say, too long, so that they're probably almost a little bit big for it, so that they really get that confidence, and then kind of just completely skip that step of what we did historically of having a bike with training wheels, because it completely destroys them. They will get on that bike and go, wow, this is the greatest thing ever. But it's when they need to get off of that,
and then they're in trouble.
And then they're in big trouble. And then they go, I hate bikes, essentially. The kids is like, and they're like, why won't my kid ride a bike? It's like,
it's because it's not an enjoyable look for them.
No, and as parents, that I hear it time and time again from other parents, in our circles with kids the same age. They're like, my kid was loving it, and then they got too big for the bike, and with training wheels, and they needed to get off of it, and then so they had to relearn how to ride a bike again, and the kids are like, screw that. That's too hard. That's
I remember with my eldest, we had him on a balance bike. I think his first birthday he started on a balance bike, and by the time he was about 18 months, he was cruising on this thing. And then I think by about 2, we've got video footage of him coming down the BMX tracks, flying down them and everything. At 3, we got him his first actual bike and put training wheels on it. And as soon as we put training wheels on it, he was off. He started riding on the training wheels. So we lifted him up a bit more, a little bit more, up more. And then we ran, after about 2 hours, we stuff it, pulled the training wheels off and just pushed him, and he just rode it like a balance bike and just took off.
Yeah. And it takes time. And I think a lot of parents, and I understand it, a lot of parents would get, a little bit impatient with the fact that it's like, okay, well, the kid can do a balance bike. It's like, kid, just, pedal the thing and away you go. You just have to, I think with our girls, we as much as they got it straight away, and sure, you have to kind of walk along with them for a bit. It takes a bit more input from the parent, but you also have to be prepared to, a bit like I was saying before for the adults, it's like it's frequency. So it's like, but it might be 10 minutes a night, and don't just, keep the kid there, right, you got to learn this, how to ride this bike tonight, the kids are, I want to go and watch Peppa Pig or something, you know.
Yeah.
Don't terrorize her with it. It's like, just be happy to spend 5 minutes or 10 minutes with them, and just let it be playful. And it's like, there is no right or wrong, and just, you know, stop being, you know, growing up about it. Just let them have 5 minutes here and there, and if it takes a couple of months, that's okay too, you know, like, because it'll be faster and better for them in the long run by putting training wheels on them. Yeah, they might sit on the thing and pedal along, but afterwards, wow, it's a mess.
Flying.
Yeah,
I remember when saying that. I remember a few years ago, the guy who broke the number of Ks in an hour record. I remember one of the cyclists I was working with at the time sent me an email saying, "Hey, check this out, Trev." And I was just breezing through it, and it was 27.6 Ks in an hour. I thought nothing of it. Then afterwards I went, hang on, whoa, that's not very much. I went back and had a look at it, and it was for someone over 100 years of age. Yeah, he was like 104 or whatever it was. And
he just passed away.
Oh, did he?
Recently, the French
yeah,
guy.
the French guy, yeah.
Yep.
And they were asking him about little things like that. Like, one of the funniest things they asked him was, you know, have you slowed down as you've gotten older, in the interview? And he said, yeah, I slowed down. He said, when I was 95, 96, I had a chat with my doctor, and I thought, yeah, maybe it's time to slow down, so I don't climb anything over 1,400 meters anymore. Like that. But one of the key things that was absolutely beautiful that he said, and I'll never forget it, was that they asked him what's his secret to longevity, and he said, yeah, I eat well, and yeah, I don't drink, and yeah, I don't smoke, and all that kind of stuff. He said, but the number one thing is you just move every day. It doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes, 5 Ks, 500 Ks, you just got to get out and do something every day.
Yeah.
And it's just absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so let's talk about some of the more eventful things that can come on later on. So we know, you know, cycling's great with all this type of stuff, but there's also all these events that are going on nowadays. There's so much stuff that you can do. You know, there's different cycling events on the Great Ocean Road, and there's even in Melbourne now, all these kind of events. There's so much stuff going on now. Are there any favourites that you kind of suggest people get involved? I know it's kind of hard to say that because they're all amazing depending on what you like, whether it's mountain bike or road.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts of it?
It is, and it's whatever discipline you know, is a hook for that individual. I personally go and sign up for them myself for the same reasons that everyone else should. You know, it's putting a really good goal out there, and most of them aren't a race, so they're not, you know, competitive, because a lot of that puts a lot of people off thinking, you know, I'm not good enough to go and race. So these events, as they are fantastic because they're participation-based events. So it doesn't matter whether, you know, we take our kids along to them, they'll go and do a family ride, and then, you know, whether it's a gravel ride or a mountain bike ride or a road bike ride, like we're so spoiled in Australia for these sort of events, and then they also lead into international stuff, so we can go to Europe and do very similar type things, and we take people over to do those as well. But I think in the moment we've seen a real push back towards super local events, and so we're based in Melbourne, and so it's about attending and participating in the stuff that we can, because, you know, we know that within, you know, reasonable certainty that if things are okay, we can do them in our own state, and so they're the ones that are really appealing. And so for us, you know, there's one of my favourite events is the Giro de la Donna each year is out in Warburton, and so there's those events. Then there's other gravel ones that happen in Creswick, and then also just slightly north in the state too, out at Beechworth. They do quite a few nice events up there as well. So awesome. And look, and we're saying before about people getting into things, it's about finding those social groups or clubs. And so if there's, you know, even in regional Australia, there's bike clubs, and they're the really, you know, a lot of the time are the first point of contact. And so it doesn't matter if it's a mountain bike club or a road cycling club or just a social club, as a sense, they're really great places to start, and they're good information points too. And, you know, people just love coming together, go for a bike ride, share all of their knowledge, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, they're good.
And then the real fun stuff happens when we start touring. And I know you guys run your own group, and I know how amazing it is. I know how long you've been doing this now. Give us some background. So I know we were talking about before, it's kids are involved in it now. There's local events that you guys are doing. There's international stuff if you want to go really big.
Yeah.
Tell us the company's name, what you're doing, where you're doing it, how people get in contact with you, all that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, look, we've had our own business. Our business is Ride International Tours, and then the other side of it is sort of coaching. So yes, we do international cycling tours and then also tours here within Australia. So if it's international people coming into Australia, we take them on cycling tours, and it could be something completely bespoke, or it could be, you know, a tour that we have together. For instance, the Tour Down Under each year in Adelaide in South Australia is really popular here. But then we also take people, as you're suggesting, across to Europe. So, you know, there are a lot of people that number one on their bucket list is to go and see the Tour de France, and then they realise that if they're into biking, that they can actually go and ride as well as see the race.
Kind of be part of it all.
Yeah. So you can go and ride certain things, and then you go and see the race, and then, you know, you can ride some of the iconic roads or different climbs in Europe. And so yeah, there's Tour de France, the Tour of Italy, Tour of Spain, and it's sort of endless. Or we start off the year at the Spring Classics, sort of in the Netherlands and Belgium, and you know, these are really iconic sort of cycling stuff. You know, they've been going for over 100 years, a lot of these races.
If you're interested in this type of things, how does it actually structure? So do we just basically just get on a plane and they just come across, they bring their own bike with them? What's their fitness level required?
Yeah,
how does it work?
Well, we offer on our inclusive tours, essentially, as I was saying, all they need to do is make sure they don't miss their flight. Once they arrive at the specific location they need to be, we pick them up from whether it's the nominated train station or the airport, and then that's it. It's like we take care of everything for them from there. So some people choose to bring their own bikes, and then sort of roughly 50% of people will hire a bike from us too. And that really depends on, you know, where they're at, and a lot of people will do travel either end of their trip with us. So generally we find they don't want to be dragging a bike around
just on the normal holidays.
Yeah, so they'll you know, we have superb bikes over there, so, and essentially we set their bike up exactly, you know, the measurements that they would have the normal bike at home. So they come over and it's all the creature comforts of home, really, and probably better in most cases, to be honest.
And do they have to ride every day? And then what if they're a basic rider compared to if they're somebody who's really experienced? How does all that work?
Yeah, well, we get everything in between, and as we said earlier on too, cycling means different things to different people. And so someone, you know, come over as a fan of, say, the Tour de France and of cycling, and they mightn't cycle at all, and that's cool with us. We really encourage that. Just like people go, you know, you might want to go and see Wimbledon, you've been a tennis fan your whole life, doesn't mean you ever play tennis.
Yeah, for sure.
But you just love the atmosphere of it, and, you know, sitting there eating strawberries and cream. It's the same thing. You go to France and, you know, eat a ham and cheese baguette, you know, like, and see the Tour de France come past, and it doesn't mean you have to be super passionate or physical about riding a bike. You're just into it because it's such a great spectacle.
They are an amazing event, aren't they? Like, they've got helicopters everywhere and people cheering, and it's really incredible, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and that's what we hear time and time again from people coming over the first time. They're like, wow, I had no idea it was going to be like this, because you can watch it on TV, absolutely, and it's amazing and interesting, and you see the helicopter footage, but when you're physically there and you're part of that spectacle and party and the whole shooting match, it's quite incredible. You know, even for us, we've been doing it for 15 years, and it's still every single day that you're around it, it's just like, wow, it is massive, and the energy that creates, and you're in these, you know, random towns and villages that the race mightn't have gone through for 20, 30, 40 years, and the towns come alive, and the locals love it. So you're getting an immersion and you know, into the real, let's say it could be France or Italy or Spain. It's like you're seeing something, you know, really unique even for them, and so that never leaves people. And you also get a better appreciation for the conditions that
they're actually in,
the race is going through as well. And same if they're riding, then your question was about, you know, people, their riding levels. We get, you know, people, you know, riding might mean that they ride once a week or once a month, right up to people who are, you know, essentially professionals or ex-professionals, and everything in between. Like, everyone's always concerned. It's like, oh, will I be fit enough? Absolutely, you will. Because
once you cater for it.
Yeah, well, once you say that you're going to do something, a bit like those events, it's like, it's funny. We just find the time to ride a little bit more and make sure that we're in the best shape that we can be, whatever that means to the individual. And so there's no pressure from us, and we support everyone, no matter what their goals are on the, when they turn up, or what it is that they want to do. We can support it. And as we've said before too, it's like some people will want to ride from sun up till sundown, and we can arrange that too. That's not a problem. And we've had a few of our guests over the years that have come through as a guest, and then one in particular that I have in mind, essentially the next year she turned professional. She'd only just picked up a bike, she'd worked on a professional career, and then she came to the Tour de France and rode with us, and so, wow, I'd like this, and I think I'm pretty good at it.
More serious?
Yeah. And she did, and she went straight to the next level of it, and was there competing at the highest level within 2 years internationally. And so
pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's rare, but the fact that you see that too, it's like you never really know who's going to hop off the plane, but we just create a really nice environment so that everyone's having a good time no matter what. It's a holiday and a vacation, and as long as we really encourage it, they're having a good time, and the cycling's part of that, but it's not
all about that.
No, it doesn't define them. No, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we're interested in joining, how do we get involved? How do we organise? How can we contact you? How can we book?
Oh, look, our website, Ride International Tours, so you can do a search on your favourite engine for that, but Ride International Tours, and we sit behind pretty much everything in the business, and I think the beauty at the moment though too is that we're taking a lot of, and suggesting to people that we do a lot of video calls, and so if someone's got a question about things, or how does this work, and I want to talk through things, instead of us sending lots and lots of emails backwards and forwards and all the rest of it, we're just like, hey, let's jump on a video call, because it's become second nature for everyone in the last 12
everyone
months.
knows now, don't they?
Yeah, and everyone's got a different platform that they want to use, so we're like, hey, email back and forth, but come on, let's jump on a video call. And we've been doing that a lot with our North American customers the last 6 or 8 weeks, and it's really nice. You get to meet people, essentially over a video call, rather than just emailing backwards and forth. And a lot of the really good stuff comes out just from the conversations. I think, just like we're having here, it's just like a video chat with people who want to talk about, hey, this is what I want to go and do and see, and and we absolutely encourage it. It's a great way to travel, so we encourage it.
Awesome.
But we're on all the social media pages as well for those that are interested in.
And
social
we'll
media.
post them all up. We'll post them all up with the thing, so you should be able to click a link and you'll be able to get straight to Pat's website and to their social media pages, where they can answer all your questions. If you have anything further, you can ask Pat. And as I said, he's more than generous with his time. He's more than happy to help with everything. Thanks for your time, buddy. It's always amazing to catch up with you. You're such an incredible guy. I love spending time with you. So thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing your wealth of knowledge as well. And guys, if you're keen, get involved with their tours. You won't regret it. It's amazing. I've heard exactly what they do and how they do it. It is absolutely phenomenal. You'll love it. Thanks for your time again, bud. Let's speak soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye for now.
So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed our chat today with Pat Fitzpatrick. Got more of these conversations coming with you on cycling shortly. If you want to get in contact with Pat, or you have any questions for Pat, please just post them up down below. Pat will answer them for you. Otherwise, my team will do that, or I'll do it myself. If you do want to get in touch with Pat, I've posted up the links there, so please get in touch with him. If you just want to improve a few things to do with your bike skills, if you're like a high-end athlete and you just want to really get to the top of your game, or perhaps you want to go and do a tour and really start having some fun and really start enjoying the Tour de France next year, or the Grand Tours next year. Hopefully we're able to get back out there and actually see some sights. You don't need to be a high-end professional cyclist. You don't even need to be a cyclist who rides 200k a week every week. Even if you just want to go have some fun, maybe go see some of the wineries and have a real experience around the Tour de France, then please get in touch with Pat at Ride International, and I'm sure he'll be able to sort something out for you. The team is absolutely amazing. Me for now, it's bye, and we'll catch up with you in the next vid. Catch you later. Thanks, guys.